The same thing that happened to my daughter is what happened to Whitney. There's only one person that was around both.
The circumstances surrounding the deaths of Whitney Houston and her daughter Bobbi Kristina Brown have long been shrouded in speculation, grief, and unanswered questions. For Bobby Brown, the father of Bobbi Kristina and ex-husband of Whitney, the parallels between the two tragedies remain haunting and inexplicable. He has spoken publicly on numerous occasions, suggesting that one individual, Nick Garden, Bobbi Kristina's former partner, may hold the key to understanding what happened both his daughter and his former wife. Though Bobby refrains from naming him explicitly at times, the implication is clear. Nick Gordon's presence in both incidents raises suspicion. Bobbi Kristina's death, Bobby insists, was not simply the result of an accidental drowning in a bathtub, as official reports concluded. Instead, he believes she was starved to death, a claim that starkly contrasts with the medical examiner's findings. Whitney's death, too, he argues, carries unresolved mysteries that echo the same eerie patterns. The story begins with Bobbi Kristina, affectionately known as Chrissy, who grew up under the intense glare of the public eye. Born to Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, two towering figures in music, her life was marked by fame from the start. As an infant, just 8 months old, she appeared alongside her mother in an interview with Barbara Walters. At age 1, she joined Whitney on stage at the 1994 American Music Awards, cradled in her mother's arms as Whitney accepted an award. These early moments hinted at a life destined to intertwine with her mother's legacy, though that destiny would ultimately be cut short by tragedy. Whitney Houston's death on February 11, 2012, at the age of 48, sent shockwaves through the world. Found unresponsive in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, her passing was officially ruled an accidental drowning. Toxicology reports revealed traces of cocaine, Xanax, and other substances in her system, though the coroner emphasized that the cocaine levels were not significant enough to have caused her death. Initial speculation suggested a heart attack, possibly triggered by hardening of the arteries, might have led her to lose consciousness and drown. Yet the autopsy found no evidence of a cardiac event, only mild heart disease and some arterial blockage common among smokers. This left a lingering question. If not a heart attack, what caused Whitney to become submerged in scalding water, unable to save herself? Adding to the mystery, the coroner noted that there wasn't enough water in Whitney's lungs to definitively prove drowning as the cause of death. This detail fueled theories that she may not have passed out in the tub naturally, that someone might have placed her there after she was already unconscious or deceased. Suspicion quickly turned to two men in Whitney's orbit, Nick Garden and Ray J. Ray J., a singer and the last person known to have seen Whitney alive, admitted to letting a dealer into her hotel room but insisted she was sober when he left. However, conflicting accounts placed him at the scene later that evening. Witnesses reported seeing him hurrying out of the hotel with his sister Brandy, raising eyebrows about his involvement. Bobby Brown's sister, Lalella Brown, has long claimed that Ray J supplied Whitney with drugs, possibly a bad bag, that contributed to her death. She recounted seeing him leave the hotel, hiding his face, an unusual move for someone typically eager for the spotlight. Another curious detail emerged from Whitney's final days. 2 days before her death, she attended a pre-Grammy event hosted by Clive Davis, her longtime mentor. Witnesses reported a heated argument between Whitney and Clive, with Bobbi Kristina allegedly present for part of it. That same evening, Whitney interrupted an interview with Brandy, Monica, and Clive, appearing disheveled and wet, to pass a note to Brandy. The contents of that note remain a secret. Brandy has refused to disclose it, citing personal reasons, but Whitney's behavior was striking. Some speculate she handed it off publicly as a safeguard, a clue in case something happened to her. Observers noted her saying, "I nearly drowned today," a chilling remark in hindsight. Theories abound that Bobbi Kristina, having witnessed her mother's disputes, might have uncovered something dangerous about Whitney's death, knowledge that could have made her a target. Fast forward to January 31, 2015, when Bobbi Kristina was found unresponsive in a bathtub in the Georgia home she shared with Nick Garden. The scene bore a haunting resemblance to her mother's death 3 years earlier. Discovered face down in the water, she lingered in a coma for months before passing away in hospice care on July 26, 2015, at the age of 22. The Fulton County medical examiner ruled her death a combination of drowning and intoxication, with marijuana, alcohol, a cocaine-related substance, sedatives, anti-anxiety medications, and morphine detected in her system. Pneumonia and encephalopathy resulting from the immersion and drug intoxication were listed as contributing factors. Yet the examiner could not determine whether her death was intentional or accidental, leaving the underlying cause as the immersion tied to her drug use. For Bobbi Brown, this explanation falls short. He has claimed that Bobbi Kristina was starved to death, pointing the finger at Nick Garden, who was with her that night. According to Bobbi and others close to the family, Nick was a controlling figure in Chrissy's life. Reports suggest she planned to leave him, intending to move to Los Angeles to be near her father and pursue her career, dreams of carrying on her mother's legacy. She was set to meet a friend that day to confess that Nick wasn't the man she'd thought, but an argument erupted when he returned home. Allegedly under the influence and upset, Chrissy confronted him about her plans, only for Nick to attack her, leaving her alone and vulnerable. Hours later, she was found in the tub. Legal action followed. Bobbi Kristina's court-appointed conservator filed a complaint against Nick Garden, accusing him of causing substantial bodily harm and stealing money by posing as her husband. An amended complaint later charged him with wrongful death, alleging he gave her a toxic cocktail that rendered her unconscious before placing her in the bathtub. Witnesses and family members described a pattern of abuse. Nick reportedly dragged her upstairs, pulled her hair, and punched her, knocking out 2 of her teeth. Bobbi Brown remains convinced that Nick was involved not only in Chrissy's death, but in Whitney's as well, citing his presence during both incidents. Nick Garden, for his part, denied the allegations, even pointing blame back at Bobbi Brown for Chrissy's demise. But his voice was silenced when he died of a drug overdose in 2020, leaving the truth buried with him. The parallels between Whitney's and Bobbi Kristina's deaths, both found unresponsive in bathtubs, both surrounded by substances, both linked to Nick Garden, continue to disturb those who love them. Were these tragedies mere coincidences, or was there a calculated hand at work? Some speculate that Nick acted alone, driven by jealousy or rage, while others wonder if he was a pawn for someone more powerful, perhaps tied to the music industry figures like Clive Davis, who loomed large in Whitney's life. Theories about Clive's involvement stem from his rocky relationship with Whitney and the timing of her death at his Grammy party. If Bobbi Kristina overheard incriminating details during their arguments, it's possible she became a liability. Her own death, mirroring her mother's so closely, only deepens the suspicion. Yet without concrete evidence or Nick Gordon's testimony, these remain conjectures fueled by grief and a desire for justice. Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina Brown were more than celebrities. They were a mother and daughter bound by love, loss, and a shared spotlight that ultimately dimmed too soon. Whitney's death left Chrissy reeling. She was hospitalized after a breakdown and thrust into a fame she struggled to navigate. Despite efforts to shield her, she stepped into the public eye, appearing on a Tyler Perry series, at the Billboard Music Awards, and in an Oprah interview. But her time was cut short, her dreams of honoring her mother's legacy unfulfilled. For Bobbi Brown and those who follow this saga, the questions persist. What really happened to Whitney in that Beverly Hills bathtub? Did Bobbi Kristina uncover a truth that sealed her fate? Was Nick Garden a lone actor or a tool of a larger conspiracy? The official reports offer closure on paper, accidental drowning for Whitney, intoxication, and immersion for Chrissy, but the eerie similarities and lingering doubts refuse to fade. Lolella Brown's claims of bruises on Whitney's body, Ray J's evasive behavior, and the mysterious note to Brandy only add layers to a puzzle that may never be solved. The deaths of Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina Brown remain a heartbreaking enigma, a tale of fame, tragedy, and unanswered what-ifs. Whether Nick Garden bore sole responsibility, or if darker forces orchestrated their ends, the world may never know. Their stories, intertwined in life and death, leave us with a lingering unease. 2 lives extinguished in bathtubs, 3 years apart, with secrets that died with them. What do you think? Did Nick act alone, or was he a puppet for someone more powerful? The truth, like Whitney's voice and Chrissy's potential, may forever elude us.